Hi, this is Tim Myers. I'm the owner of Ascenda Music Publishing, and I'm here today with an old friend of mine, Gerry Pagano. We played in the St. Louis Symphony together for 25, maybe more seasons. Um, and I've been writing some blogs about, making music and getting it in front of people. And Gerry's a good person to talk to because he didn't start out as a composer. He's a bass trombonist, but he's done a bunch of that recently. So I wanted to talk to him about that. So Gerry, welcome.
Thank you, Tim. Emphasis on the old, by the way, an old colleague.
Okay. Well, yeah, that happens, doesn't it? So,
Yeah.
so, um, so here's how I see it. We did this trombone quartet thing, and then we started by playing stuff that you can buy from a music store, and then we started to say, let's do something else. And so we started, and I'm saying we because I did it too, but we started arranging things. But tell me, maybe it started for you before that. Tell me when it got started, or when you started thinking about arranging or composing music.
Well, arranging would have started quite a while ago. And I'm not even sure if that's the right word, but I remember back when I lived in Phoenix, I had someone must have lent me a keyboard, a Bach keyboard book that I started writing out for 3 or 4 trombones. And my usual thought is, if I like a piece of music and it's not for trombone, it'll sound better on trombone. And uh, it could, depending on the piece, because sometimes some pieces don't lend towards the instrument because of the technical aspects. Um, some pieces are just kind of sound oriented, and sonorous pieces, I think, are especially good for trombone. But that was probably the first time I ever did anything like that. This is back with paper and pencil, manuscript paper. So, completely different time period. And as I started looking at some of those things and transferring them to Finale files when I got a Finale program, I started probably most likely the Finale program helped me to start considering doing some of that stuff again. It was so much easier, more legible. You could move it around to different keys. And again, I think a lot of it came down to I could hear a piece of music that I thought, man, that would be really interesting on trombone. And I would arrange it for trombone and the computer would play it for me. And if I thought, yeah, it does sound like, as much as I'm not crazy about hearing a computer play music, if it sounded like it did work, and then I was able to bring it into the group and people were willing to play through it. And of course, oftentimes it would work out that we could even use it in a program. And sometimes it might be a piece or kind of piece that I would think, we're missing something if we go to a school or a church, or if we're playing at Forest Park. Various venues, sometimes you can't always find music, or you might find some, but you're looking for more. And being able to arrange other people's music for your instrument could really enlarge our folder, which I think it did. And then I'm not sure how I got started composing. I know I did a fair amount in St. Louis, but I think it really expanded during the pandemic, with so much time. And sometimes I would take a hike because I spent a lot of the pandemic in Santa Fe, and I would just kind of pick up tunes, as I was walking down a trail. And sometimes I had a great title. Like one of my favorite titles was The Isotopes Waltz, because I could just think about these isotopes dancing, you know. Not that I know a lot about isotopes, even though I saw the movie Oppenheimer a couple times. But I think that sometimes I would come up with a tune first, or certainly with the quartet in mind, sometimes I'd want to write something for the group. And if I was lucky, I would get an idea. And sometimes it would just be a kernel of an idea. I had another tune that I had a title for that had to do with a very unique Santa Fe experience. There's something called Zozobra, which is a creature that was created by an artist uh, in Santa Fe, maybe as much as 80 years ago. And it was to kind of usher out the year in the fall. And uh, he's called Old Man Gloom. And what they do is they say they have this puppet they built, and the first one was only like 6 feet tall, and they would light it on fire, and your troubles and anxieties from the past year would go up in smoke, and you'd start fresh. And over the 80 years, they kept making Zozobra bigger and bigger and bigger, and the event got bigger and bigger. And now they do it on Marcy Hill here in town, and it's like 50, 60 feet tall. They build this thing out of paper mache and wood and whatever, and all these people gather and they have kind of a big party, and at the end of it they light this thing and it goes up in flames. But I thought it's an interesting idea of like, okay, I didn't have a great year, or things happened, and I'm gonna start fresh, and let's just usher out that whatever, and here we start with a new year. And I thought it's such a cool concept too, because they do have this it's kind of a monstery creature, this Zozobra, and um, it can conjure up ideas for music. And there may be some people may have written Zozobra tunes. I haven't heard any, but I thought, what better instrument to scare the heck out of people than the trombone? And so I haven't done anything with it yet. I've been futzing with it. I listened to it, change a note or two, work on it a little bit, and I'm hoping to record it maybe in August. But it's really been fun to do this because it's a creative part of me that never got exercised, or I didn't even know it existed. So it's something that I don't think I'm going to stop doing anytime soon, because it has been enjoyable, especially in retirement, to have this other aspect of music making, since the majority of my music making was playing other people's music and doing it with a big group. Now I have this other creative opportunity. And as you know, I also had the opportunity to get some colleagues of ours record a piece of mine. And it was really cool to hear it played on not just on trombone, because so much of my music has been for trombone, but this one trio in particular was two violas and bassoon. And of course, our colleagues are so good. I sent them the music, and in 1 hour, probably less, they recorded it, and they sound awesome. So that
Yeah, you sent that to me. It was very fun to listen to.
I, I was so impressed, and I don't think I really appreciated fully. We went to work every day and heard these people all around us, and it got to be norm. And now I'm not hearing that, and then I hear these folks play again. I'm like, man, they sound good. And I
Yeah.
think it's just because I'm not sitting there listening to them every day. I forget, but I might do that some more. There's every reason to think that there could be tunes that, I hate to say it, there could be some music that would sound better on other instruments than trombone. Oh, I don't feel good about that. But you know what I mean. It could be nice to expand the palette beyond just trombone, and so we'll see. But I certainly have enjoyed doing it, and it was really rewarding the more anything I did worked out, because sometimes you have an idea and you're not sure, is this any good, and sometimes you don't even know if you'll be able to execute the idea, if people will be willing to play it. With your quartet alarm, I'm sure that at one point you thought, I don't know if these guys want to play this piece. It's crazy. It's hard.
I have been astonished that you guys kept saying you wanted to do the piece. Now, yeah,
Well, I'm
yeah.
glad we did. It was not easy, and and yet I'm glad we went to the trouble to work it up, and certainly that we got it recorded, because it's cool.
Yeah. So I want to ask you that the STL trombones did this Christmas recording, which I I think is very fun, and more people need to know about it. But you did
I agree.
most of the arranging,
Yeah,
and so my knowledge of your work is trombone quartet stuff mostly,
yeah.
and and we went to music school, but aside from I did a composition class for 1 year at Northwestern. I didn't have any private instruction. Um, so it was listening and learning. Can you describe what you see as kind of a trajectory from, okay, I want to start doing this, to you get to the next project and you think, well, maybe I should do it this way because that didn't work last time. I mean, how did you
Yeah,
feel you got better at it?
by doing it and listening to what I'm writing. And again, that's a great thing about the computer playing your music. As soon as you're done putting it down, it'll play it back for you. And I I wish I could play piano. I know you are a pianist, and I was lucky to get through the required piano for Juilliard. And at some point, they probably just say, "Okay, just go on. We'll pass you. Just leave." I just don't have those skills, and I am fortunate because the computer can do that for me. And I started realizing that the more simple, I was getting too busy and complex at times, and I started learning to simplify things. And I also started realizing that it's great if you can, and you'd think you know this being a trombonist, if you can think more about not having the horn completely just plastered to your face the whole time. But you can write something and the computer doesn't get tired. So I would find, as I would take the music, print it out, and play on a certain part, I might take second or third trombone and see, what is it like to play this part? And it would kill me. So I realized you've got to remember, no matter what you write and no matter what the computer can do, people have to play it. And
There are human
again,
beings that have to deal with what you put on the page.
I I have complained so much about modern composers when you get pieces, and I think, like, don't they know our instrument? And then I'm the worst offender. So what can I say? But that process has continued to change over time, and I think I'm learning more, and hopefully that's going to be ongoing. One of the things is I've relied on my ear a lot, and I don't have a great foundation in theory. So sometimes, you know, I'm just hearing either a tune that I want or an accompaniment or harmony or something to go with it. And again, the great part of putting it on the computer is when it gives it back to me, I can hear if it's what I'm hearing or if what I heard is off or something. So it's given me a real opportunity to do this that I don't think I'd have if I had to sit at a keyboard. But it's in some ways it's just like well, it's not completely, but in some ways it's like trying something and seeing if it works, seeing what it sounds like, making adjustments, adjusting multiple times. But it's, again, I think it's kind of supported by the fact that I've listened to a lot of different kinds of music over a long period of time. And, obviously sitting in the orchestra, but also just listening to music being alive on the planet. And so there's a lot of, I've soaked up a lot of music, and I think that helps me. It informs what I do. You mentioned the Christmas stuff. I had a real good time combining ideas that had nothing to do with the Christmas time. You know, putting in Mozart's Tuba Mirum trombone solo into a Christmas thing, where, like, if you're not a trombone player, you're not even going to know what's going on probably. But if you are, you can be like, "Oh, that's silly. Why did you do that? You silly." But there was a lot of that happened in the Christmas tunes, and I I think there were one or two pieces that I had this idea, and then I started looking for those ideas. I remember there's one arrangement, I can't remember which one it was, that I used the New World Symphony, the opening chords, and somehow I thought that could go right into this Christmas tune. And I just thought it was just funny to be able to combine those things. And there's, of course, the bolero that we did, the Drummer Boy. That's a of course you're going to do that. But I think that's one of the things that really drew my interest, was being able to put some of my personality, because I just, if I can make myself laugh, and anybody else laughing along with me, that's a bonus. But mainly
Right.
I'm going to laugh at me and be fine, just entertaining myself.
So I was counting, and aside from four trombones of the St. Louis Symphony slash STL trombone recordings. I think you have, do you have like 9 full albums or something like that? Is that right?
I have six, I think it's six solo albums. I don't know. It's Connections, Departure, Solitude, Horizon, Ubiquity, Epilogue, and then the one I did one with Doug Yo, which was really cool, and I was on one with Mike Lake, where I just basically played bottom parts. He did all the arrangements, and of course Mike only plays alto trombone, so there's only certain register he can cover. So that was fun, and let's see what else. Of course, our quartet CDs. So yeah, there's been a few, and um, it's been really nice to collaborate with other people.
I've I've heard about the new you were just talking about the couple of pieces that you had our former non-brass player colleagues record in St. Louis. Do you have any other, do you think album anymore, or do you just think I want to record this piece?
No, actually, I've got a couple more pieces that I want to get recorded, and they will accompany some other stuff that I want to make another album and include. Um, there are four things on there that were with the trombones of the St. Louis Symphony. One is a piece written by Kim Portnoy, and it was put on his album of his music. I'm talking about the Justin Wilson, Tembo to Justin Wilson, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't know how many people would know it, the people that have heard his album, the people that have heard us play it live, but around the country, as far as trombone players, probably a lot of people that they have no awareness of that piece. And I think it's a really cool piece. And so by including it, I'm hoping more people might hear it, find out about it. And I'm also including the second movement of the three movement work that's a bass trombone solo. Help me out. Olivier Barreau wrote it,
All
and
right.
I'm trying to remember the name
Impregnations.
of it. Impregnations. And
Yeah.
that I used the second movement. Again, it kind of as a sampler, like when you're walking through the mall and somebody gives you a thing of Hickory Farms smoked cheese or something, they're trying to get you to buy something. Um, but I think that's another piece that I want more people to know about, because for a long time, the standard thing that was played for bass trombone solos in quartet setting or tubas was the Tomasi, to be or not to be. And I don't think anybody's added to it. I've been playing it for 30, 40 years, so it's been a long time that it's been the lone entry into something like that for the bass trombone to get featured in the quartet. And Olivier, his piece is really cool. And I think we all enjoyed playing it, so it'd be really nice for more people to know about it. And I'm hopeful again that what will happen is people will hear that movement and go, "Oh, I want to hear more," and then direct them to our Confluence recording, and then eventually, hope they might search out Olivier and get the music from him. And that's just some of the music on there, and some of the other stuff is some of this new stuff I'm doing. Um, and there's another piece that I recorded before I left St. Louis that I never put on anything. So it's kind of a smorgasbord, or it's a combination of different things. And I'm not sure how soon I'll get it all done, but that's the next thing. And there's every reason to think that it might feel a little weird as you go listening from piece to piece, because it may not all make a lot of sense, because some are old pieces that we recorded a few years ago, and some are new things that I'm hoping to record. But the idea is to try and get these things out so they can be heard. And in the last recording I did, maybe the last two, I was trying to think of everything as a continuous process. Like there was a theme or a feeling I wanted to go throughout the length of the music. And that's not going on with this one. It's just tunes that I like. But I did kind of have that idea at one point of trying to, instead of just putting an hour's worth of music together of disparate pieces, of trying to have there be some through idea. And so it's just nice to be able to try and resurrect, or I don't know if that's the best word, try and make more people aware of some of these pieces. You know, those tunes, I think you'd agree with me. I think if people heard them, they'd get some performances. And there's always a need. I always felt like we could use more repertoire for the instrument, but also stuff where you had a lot of people like listening to the Kim Portnoy piece. Got a lot of positive response. And, you know, sometimes it's not just about making the performers happy because we like playing X piece, but really having the audience members think, oh, that was fun. I liked
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
So,
Yeah. Well, Jerry, so you and I left the St. Louis Symphony at the same time, and some people call that retirement, but what you've been just describing to me doesn't sound anything remotely like any idea I used to have of what retirement is. I mean, I'm not retired either, so it sounds like you're
right,
awfully
right.
busy. So I think talking to you now must have been keeping you from something. So we should probably wrap this up, but I really appreciate your taking the time to talk about this.
Sure. You know,
Musicians,
I think, go ahead.
well, musicians often have ideas and then they think, well, but I'm not a composer. Well, wait a minute. You
Right.
never get it done unless you
Yeah.
start doing it, you know. So
Yeah. Well, I found that, you know, in doing things to fix stuff on my house, it'd be more a matter of, well, I've never done this job before, but I can't seem to get anybody else to do it cheaply. So I guess I'm doing it. And if you do it, that makes you the person that's capable of doing whatever. Now, I don't want you to feel bad like you're keeping me from doing anything. Really, the, the nap that I'm going to take is a pretty big important thing. And then as long as I can wake up in time for Beverly Hillbillies, Gomer's Pile, and Petticoat Junction, as long as I don't miss those important aspects of my day, I'm good.
you sound like a happy guy, Jerry. Thank
As
you
long as
so
I get
much
my
for doing
shows in,
this.
you're welcome.
Take
It's
care.
really a pleasure to talk to you again, and I enjoyed it.
All right.